everyone. I have an amazing person here. But first, welcome to 360 Coaching with Premier Teaching and Learning. Today, I have Christine Weiss, who is so amazing, so amazing. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So let me tell you, I came on her information and I was lucky enough to reach out and she responded. You know how you meet your superstars and then you're like, oh, they called me back. And so she responded back. So we are lucky to have her.
My name is Christine Weiss and I am an elementary educator for about 18 years. I started off with the wee little ones. I have a bachelor's in early childhood education and then I ventured into getting my master's in elementary education. I'm also gifted certified and I am a responsive classroom teacher, which we'll talk about a little bit further. I grew up in New York City and I always attended public schools. So from there, I always wanted to teach public schools as well. So I started my career off in Brooklyn, New York, teaching. So as time went on, I did relocate to Pennsylvania and now I teach in Delaware public schools. And I spent the last 12 years of my career teaching gifted education, grades 2 and 3. And currently I am teaching grade 4, regular education in ELL, and I am loving it.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So I know you have so much to share with us. So here we go. The building blocks for strong classroom management by Christine Weiss.
Thank you. So when I took a little leave from teaching, I did become a classroom management coach. I started working with Thoughtful Teacher, which is classroom management solutions. And what I did was I became a classroom management coach, and then I was assigned to schools to go in and coach teachers. And it was a little bit uncomfortable first. As an elementary educator, I was put into middle and high schools. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going into middle and high schools. But let me tell you, one thing that I learned about classroom management at all levels is that management practices are the same for elementary, middle, and high school. And even if you're managing a business, you're still managing your people, your relationships, the community that you work with, as well as all the work that needs to be done, the when and the how. So management strategies, period, are essential for success. So we're going to dive into the building blocks for strong classroom management using 3 blocks, only 3 blocks. So just to summarize and make sure that we're all on the same page with what classroom management is, it involves the strategies and techniques that a teacher uses or implements to ensure that the classroom environment is conducive to teaching and learning. So the 3 blocks that we're going to be talking about is building teacher relationships, building classroom community, and building routines and expectations. Okay, the 3 blocks we're going to talk about. So building relationships, oh, they're so important. And sometimes they go by the wayside because building relationships takes time. Your personal relationships take time. Your professional relationships take time. Relationships need to be developed. They need to be nurtured. So we're going to talk about some actionable ways that you can build relationships with your students that are meaningful. So 1, just get to know your students. They want to get to know you too. Don't you have so many students that talk your ear off? They want to tell you stories. I've had so many. So I just talk to them and I just listen. And I'll skip down a few lunch bunches. When I have a student that kind of wants to chew my ear off in the middle of instruction, I'll just say, you know what? I want to hear so much more about that. How about you meet me at lunch for about 10 minutes and you can tell me the rest of your story. So that way you're letting them know that what they're saying is so important and you care. And we don't expect teachers to give out 45 minutes of their lunch, you know, to meet with students, but that 10 minutes a day makes a huge difference in getting to know your students.
Oh my God. I remember, you know, that you're right. Students are always sharing their stories. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is when, you know, we would pull the reading groups, I would say, you know, how are you doing? You know, really quick and get them quick and then refocus them back to their reading their book and then send them back to their seat. But I would kind of rotate it so it was maybe 2 people a day. So just so I can touch every student. So yes, this is right on point.
Yes. And while you're talking to them, start making those connections. You love drawing too? So do I. I'd love to see your drawing. Maybe we could sit down and share every once in a while. To bring in your new drawings. And reaching out to not only students, but families is so important too. Getting to know the families is just as important as knowing your students. And historically, parents get a lot of phone calls and contact when something negative is happening. Let's turn that around. In order to build relationships and trust with your students and families, call with something positive. Get to know them, reach out, be personable, make those connections with the families too, and shine your personality. And once you have those relationships built with students and families, your school year runs so much more smoothly. Another one that I find that really works like a charm is taking interest in their passions. Giving interest surveys at the beginning of the year is a great way to find out what your kids love and are passionate about. Use it. Use it to engage them and benefit your classroom instruction. Plan your lessons with students' interests in mind. Your engagement in your classroom will skyrocket. They will want to come to your class because they know that you're doing something that is interest to them. Now, if you have a lot of student interests and a variety of them, I would have student presenters. I'd have like a sign-up sheet in my classroom, and this doesn't have to take up a lot of your time. I'd say, Friday, you have 5 minutes to teach us everything about that subject. You're here to wow us. You're the teacher. So it could be a sign-up sheet, maybe the last few minutes of every period. It could just be a Friday, you know, the last half hour of class, we're going to have 5 presenters. Kind of shake it up and make it fun. They love this. Love it. One thing we often don't do is invest the time in students with negative behaviors. Those are the kids that we really need to reach out and be the closest one. Those are the kids that you need to work the hardest to build the strongest relationship. So you're going to have to heal them with kindness and give them the most positive attention that you can give them. Invite that student for lunch. They're going to be like, what, you want to meet with me? Yeah, I do. I want to meet with you every day. Come on in for 10 minutes. Let's have lunch together all week. And give them a special job. Maybe they could be your teacher assistant. Maybe they could be your messenger. Maybe they could file papers for you. Call on them to do everything. And you will notice that the relationship will not only improve, but so will the behavior.
No, I remember at the beginning of the year, just kind of getting that out of the parents too, you know, having a kind of conference and saying, you know, what are your child's strengths, and, you know, what do you expect for this year? So how can we support him, and what is he good at home so I can support him at school? And some of the parents just let me have it and tell me everything. And I would just take notes and try to infuse that throughout the school day. Yes.
And what a great way to get them involved too, and showing them that you're trying to be positive and to support their child. And that leads me into giving positive feedback. Positive feedback should be frequent. It should be throughout the day, even noticing the littlest things. So be kind, be specific, and give the positive feedback to let the student know that when they're demonstrating the desired behavior or positive behavior, that you notice. So it's all of these little things that we can do to build relationships with students, and you'll see that your classroom turns itself around once you have those relationships built. Okay, does that make sense?
I love it. I agree.
Great. So let's go to building block B. And this is all about morning meetings. So I am a responsive classroom teacher, which is a social and emotional learning approach to teaching and discipline. This has been the best professional development. And if there's one thing that I can say to build community, it's going to be your morning meeting. One thing that you need to do. 4 components. So just a little bit about morning meeting. It's 15 to 20 minutes a day of your daily morning routine. Why morning meeting? Well, it's used to start the day off, to set it off on the right foot, the right tone. 2, morning meeting meets 2 basic human needs, belonging and significance. Not only that, There's a little bit of fun there. And you know, when you speak to your students, they don't want to go to school. School's not fun. Well, with morning meeting, you're implementing the human needs of sense of belonging and sense of significance and having fun. So there's 4 components of morning meeting, and each one should be introduced one at a time and slowly at the beginning of your school year. So one component is greeting. Students greet each other with a smile and eye contact, and we normally do some kind of gesture. It could be a high five, it could be a hug, it could be like a lefty righty pinky shake, an elbow nudge, something fun just to get the kids connected. You can do them, you know, make your greetings 1 minute or a few minutes, however long, but morning meeting generally should take 15 to 20 minutes. Then I have a few students do a share. This year, I did it a little bit differently. Because time was limited in our schedule, I had students just volunteer first who would like to share. It's just a few students share each day with some news of interest for the class to respond to. So the student shares, and then they say, I'm ready for thoughtful questions and comments. So in this way, the student would get some feedback. This builds community between peers. They get to know each other. They get to know each other deeply, and they're practicing their active listening skills.
I love that, because what we tend to see when we are coaches is we walk in the classrooms and we see the morning meetings, but it's one-sided. It's not dialogue. So I like how you kind of ask the question, so it's conversation with, you know, their community about what they're passionate about. So yes, that's a good idea and tip.
Yeah, I don't recommend or suggest skipping any parts of morning meeting. Do that greeting and then have a few students share. I did have, you know, in previous years, I've taught 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. I would assign them a day. So they knew, that one student knew every Tuesday they would share and have to be prepared. Some students are really comfortable with it. Some students are not. So this year, I did it a little bit differently. So you kind of gauge what your students like and what they're comfortable with, but most of them will step out of their comfort zone, and every single one of them will want to share eventually. The next one is their favorite group activity. The whole class participates in a short, fun activity, building classroom community through active participation. And some of our favorite ones are like fact or fiction, otherwise known as 2 truths and a lie. One student says 3 things about themselves, and you have to guess which one is a lie, which ones are facts. They love stuff like this. And here I tie all kinds of academics. I might do a math game. We might be counting or buzzing on different multiples. We might be practicing our spelling or vocabulary words by playing a game of Sparkle. So we do all kinds of activities that involves that social, emotional, and academic piece.
No, I like this. But I have a question. I wonder, it seems like so much is packed into your morning meeting. So how do you kind of keep the pace and keep it going?
Good question. So I have my morning message always prepared before they come in. So the students develop the language skills and learn about what we're going to be doing in my message. So I have that prepared. So when they come into my classroom, the first thing they do is greet me. So good morning, Mrs. Weiss. And they have their morning routine where they unpack, they go to their seat, and they go immediately to our morning message. So that kind of is like my springboard for when they come to our morning meeting. As soon as they come to our morning meeting, they're all gathered. We do a quick greeting. We have a few shares. We participate in a few-minute activity. Remember, all these parts are kind of brief. And then we go right to the morning message. I'll read it, and I'll share their responses. I might do a morning message just on grammar. I see you're struggling with nouns today. Let's review what nouns are, and give me a great appropriate noun, person, place, or thing, and they'll put it on there. We might do a math problem. I'll say decompose all the ways you can decompose this fraction. Show me all the ways you can decompose this fraction. It might be, let's talk about 2 characters that we're reading. Tell me how they're similar or different. So I could tie so many things into this morning message. So do you see how this morning meeting can be so powerful? One thing I asked my fourth graders at the end of this year was, what is the thing that you will most likely not forget this year? What will you miss? And most said morning meeting. So that tells me how powerful this is, how they built relationships with each other and not only strengthen their relationships with me.
Got it. Got it.
Good stuff, right? Good stuff.
Great stuff.
All right, and C is building routines and expectations. Okay, this is to me the most important one, because if you are, I shouldn't say the most important one, but the first few weeks of school, these routines and expectations should be taught, modeled, guided. The first 6 weeks of school, you were like the how-to guide, how to locate materials in the classroom, how to get supplies, how to line up. We don't want to ever assume that when students come into your classroom, they know exactly what to do. Every classroom is different. Every teacher is different. And when you teach, model, and guide these routines and expectations, they understand the methods behind your organizational madness and they do step up. So if a teacher does not systematize all daily tasks or model daily tasks, teachers will surely struggle in classroom management. So these are key to your classroom running very smoothly so that you have maximum teaching time and minimal disruptions.
No, this is great. The list, I would have never thought to make a list. And I often wonder, is this list common for the whole school or this is just your classroom?
Well, as a responsive classroom teacher, these are the things I've always done. Definitely in any classroom, I mean, I have so much more to my list and I check off as I go so that I make sure that I teach it, I model it, I guide it, and then I reteach it. After the winter break, we come back, I teach them the same things again. And what I see lacking in middle school and high school is teachers are like, they already know how to do this. They're not elementary students, but then you should see how some of the students walk into their classrooms like they've never walked into a classroom before. So when I was coaching those middle school and high school teachers, I'm like, no, you're gonna have to teach that middle school student the expectation for walking into your classroom and exiting your classroom. So these are things that all kids on all levels need to know.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So just a few take-home points. So the 3 most important things to do at the very beginning of the school year are build those teacher relationships, build that classroom community, and build those routines and expectations. Once you have done all of this, your school year, your classroom will run beautifully.
Yay.
Beautifully.
No, I love this. I mean, I would love it if we kind of all kind of embody these strategies because that morning meeting is so powerful. And the kids, you know, they really gravitate to the teacher because they know the teacher cares and it's just expressed in the classroom in that morning. So this is powerful. So, man, this is great. So I really appreciate you spending time with me this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always been my goal to support and help other teachers. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity to help in any ways that I can. I have a ton of information on my blog, a ton of resources to support teachers in classroom management. I'm already thinking about how can I do morning meeting with social distancing? So that will come out on my blog soon. I'm already thinking about ways because we know that school's gonna look maybe a little different in the fall. So we wanna make sure that we can still build relationships and communities and routines and expectations with those guidelines in place.
No, I agree. And please look at her blog. It's great with good content. And so hopefully we can have her blog on our link so you can go to follow her. She is amazing. So thank you again for coming.
You.
Next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.